Hi, this is Haley from Loop by Loop Studio, and I want to show you how to make a quilly wreath from your wool fabric strips. So what you're going to need for this project is a whole bunch of wool fabric strips in 8-inch wreath form. Ours is cardboard, some pom-poms, a bow, definitely a glue gun, and a pair of really nice scissors. How you want to start is you want to attach your twine to the cardboard form. I like to tie mine in a knot and kind of do one of these pull-through knots to secure it at the top. Once I have it placed where I'd like, I then take my glue gun and I'll secure a little bit of glue just to make sure it doesn't slide around while I'm working on my piece. So I've already plugged in my glue gun, and I just usually touch the sides to make sure that it's nice and hot, because if it's not, the glue won't melt. And I just add a couple little dots to either side of the twine to make sure that it's secured into place. Now it's time to make your quillies, which are just coils that you're going to make out of your wool fabric strips. You're basically going to keep the ribbon flat in your fingers and roll it up so you have a 1/4 inch high coil of wool. So you can see there, I just start at one end, start coiling it, just running it through my fingers to make this this coil of wool. And right now I'm just using a single strand to make my coil. Oftentimes I'll use the whole strip of the wool to make a relatively large coil. It ends up being about the size of a quarter, or sometimes I'll even cut them in half or quarter to make smaller ones. And having a variety of sizes is really key when filling in your wreath form. So you just want to start. I usually do at least half of my coils up front, so I have a bunch to start gluing down. So you can see here, I'm just going to make a couple different kind of coils. When I get to the end of my wool fabric piece, I'm going to use a very small dot of glue just to keep that end in place to secure it to the coil. So you can see there's my little tail, and I'm going to use a very small, little bit of glue goes a long way, small dot, and just press it together so that it doesn't come apart. Next, I'm going to do 2 pieces of wool together, and I'm going to coil them so the coil is now going to have a stripe of alternating color through it. So as you can see, I just put my 2 pieces of wool fabric strips flat together, both like ribbons, and I start coiling up the flat side. If you wanted to, you could put a tiny dot of glue to glue them together to get you going, but I find that I can just hold them together with my fingers. It's a little more challenging now because I just have to keep both pieces flat in my hands as I'm coiling them around. So it takes me just a tiny bit longer, but I end up with a larger coil because now I have 2 pieces going around instead of 1. When I get to the end, I just like to trim my inner piece of wool a little bit shorter than my outer piece of wool, and then I use my glue gun to put a dab of glue on both pieces. I'm sorry, it's hard to see there because I'm working towards the edge of the camera frame. So I'm putting glue, a tiny dot, on both pieces of wool tail that are hanging off of it, and then I'm going to affix them to the wool quilly like that. Now I have a bigger wool quilly there. So now I'm making another kind of quilly. I'm going to do a double quilly center, so the same kind of quilly we made last time, and then I'm going to add a single quilly to the outside of it to give it a little more decoration. So again, I'm just quilling 2 pieces together so I can have that lined center piece. And then once I get to the end, I'm going to affix them like I just did the last one with a couple of little glue dots. But then I'm going to use that herringbone piece that you see there on the board to add a little bit of decorative edge around the side. So this is just another kind of quilly that you can make to add variation to your quillie wreath. You know, you want circles that look like all different decorative colors and styles. So here I am just adding another little glue dot to that quilly I just made so I can attach this piece of herringbone wool, and then I'm just going to add that kind of as a frame to the outside of the quilly and then just finish it off just like I would the other ones. So just 3 different styles that you can make for your wreath, and all different sizes too. So I'm ready to start affixing my quillies to my piece. And when you do this, you want to use about a dime size of glue or just a tiny bit smaller to get your quillies to stick. And I start with the biggest ones that I've made, and I start in all sort of 4 sides of my piece just to start sort of balancing it out. And what I'm looking for is I'm trying to balance the size of the quillies. I'm also trying to balance the color of the quillies. Like that lime green that I'm using right now is a kind of my brightest color. So I'm just trying to put it in all different areas of the wreath so the wreath looks balanced and not like too wild on one side or too heavy on one side. So I'm just going in. I have about probably half of the quillies that I'm going to need for the whole wreath. Right now, I would say you end up needing maybe 40 quillies or so in all various sizes. So I have my wreath, you know, kind of a good start there, but I'm going back now and just filling in with different sizes in order to fill in the holes of the wreath and make it more balanced. So here's when I start kind of cutting my quillies in half too and making smaller ones. I also start building up layers to my wreath. So in some spots I want it double layered. So you can see I'm placing quillies on top of other quillies. Again, just to give it a very full look. I don't give everything a double layer in every area, but I probably add, you know, maybe 8 to 10 to the kind of second layer, again, just to give it some more dimension and some more visual interest, 3-dimensional effect. So here I am just again filling in the spots that I feel like I've missed, or maybe some spots that need a balance of color. So just making more quillies. And when you think you've had enough, I guarantee you're probably going to make more and more, because you're always going to see spots that might need to be filled in or that needs a little pop of color. So I'm always, you know, making more than I thought I would. This is when I also add in some berries and the bow. I start looking for a good spot. I tend to put the bows on the bottom of my wreath from where my hanger is. This is a great project to do when you're, you know, just sort of zoning out or watching TV or listening to the radio, book on tape, because it's so tactile just to feel the wool strips in your hands, and it's actually really so easy to do. And with a little supervision because of the hot glue gun, it's great for kids to do as well. They can be rolling up the pieces while an adult is using the glue gun and gluing them up. So, you know, it's not a necessarily hard project. It's just filling in the wreath form. Don't be afraid to fluff up the bow a little bit or add little decorative elements that you might want to add to it. You know, buttons look really cute on these, and, you know, different things that you find around the house. They are kind of rustic, so anything you can add to, you know, give your wreath a little more personality is probably a good idea. Make it yours. Like I said, I like to add these little pom-pom berries in, just again where I think they needs a pop of color. And there you have it. I did a couple more quillies just to fill in all of my blank spots, but there you go. You have a cute little wreath and a couple of hours worth of work. I really hope you enjoy working on this as well.